Cutting pesticide use by half in the EU by 2030 was a key goal of the European Green Deal, but that target, put on hold by the European Commission last year, has now been shelved indefinitely. In an interview with Euronews, EU Agriculture Commissioner Christoph Hansen confirmed that reviving this idea is no longer on the EU executive's agenda.
A lot of pressure. It didn't work out, and now we have no progress at all. Is that...
But still it's off the table.
It is off the table, exactly, so no progress at all. And I believe with this process where we take the farmers on board and we take the civil society on board, in the European Board on Agriculture and Food, we determine there and discuss about solutions that are applicable and effective on the ground to achieve those targets.
The plan to halve pesticide use in the EU was withdrawn by the Commission 1 year ago following mounting opposition from right-wing parties and widespread farmer protests. At that time, Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stressed that the pesticide reform would stay on the agenda with possibility of a more mature proposal. But now Hansen says any new EU initiative on pesticides will focus on trade and innovation aspects rather than on reduction targets.
But it is important that we encourage them rather with incentives to achieve goals rather than to say just from a top down this is the number, and we exactly see what happened with those numbers when it goes to the co-legislative process. It is like a big auction, who bids more for on percentage.
Instead of tightening environmental standards, the Commission New Vision for Agriculture and Food, unveiled this week, prioritizes making farming a more attractive job, particularly for young generations. A clear sign that, for now, environmental ambitions are taking a back seat to economic and political realities.
And therefore our farming and food producing community.
One day before the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Germany will head to the polls. Yet throughout the election campaign, support for Ukraine has not appeared to be a top priority for the leading candidates and their parties. Former Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba explained why he believes the war has played such a minor role in the election campaign.
You don't believe that this is going to happen to you. Because look around, walk the streets of Berlin, everything is so nice. You forgot that all of this can be gone, and you don't want to think that this is something that may come to your home. As we never could imagine that anything like this would be happening in our country.
Kuleba issued a stark warning about Russian President Putin's ambitions, questioning whether Germany and the West have truly learned from history.
Putin will test NATO if Ukraine falls. I'm not saying this as a Ukrainian who maybe, people may say, of course, he's trying to pull us into the war, he's trying to scare us. No, we will manage it. You failed to manage Putin for 20 years, and he knows that. And his only goal will be to destroy Ukraine and destroy the West, because this is his ambition, this is how he wants to go down in history. You don't want to believe us, as you never wanted to believe us before 2022. Well, what can I say? History repeats itself, and when European politicians solemnly declare never again on each and every anniversary of the First and Second World War, they are lying. Because history repeats itself again and again.
The coming German elections are crucial not only for the EU, but also for Ukraine.
2 women have been killed in a knife attack at a shopping centre in the Czech Republic. It happened in a store where both of the women were reportedly employees in the northern city of Hradec Králové. Police say a 16-year-old youth has been detained in connection with the stabbings.
Podezřelého muže jsme zastihli přibližně po 10 minutách necelý kilometr od místa činu. Zadržela ho na místě zásahová jednotka.
Reports initially said the victims had been injured, but police later said both had died. Neither of the women have been identified. The motive for the attack isn't immediately known, but an investigation is ongoing. Police say the situation is under control and there's no further danger to members of the public.
On Thursday, the Vatican said that the Pope got out of bed and had breakfast while seated in an armchair. Pope Francis, he's spending his 7th day here at Gemelli Hospital in Rome, where he's being treated for pneumonia. He was initially admitted for bronchitis, but recent chest scans revealed what was described as a more complex clinical situation requiring further pharmacological therapy. This latest update follows another one, which was released by the Vatican on Wednesday evening, stating that the Pope's condition was stable and that he had shown a slight improvement in his blood test results. On Wednesday, he also received a visit from Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who said that he was alert and responsive. It seems that Pope Francis will have to remain in hospital as long as necessary. The Vatican has not yet confirmed how long he will remain hospitalized. Supporters have gathered outside the hospital alongside reporters and TV crews from around the world following the latest updates on the Pope's health. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews at Gemelli Hospital in Rome.
Israeli police say that several explosions targeted empty buses in the central city of Bat Yam in what they're labeling a suspected terror attack. Large units were dispatched to the scene to investigate the incident and search for clues and suspects. Authorities say they're aware of at least 5 explosive devices that either detonated or were disabled, with all of them having timer devices. Israeli media outlets are calling this a strategic terrorist attack. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called for an emergency meeting to discuss the incident. Police say no casualties were reported and investigations are ongoing.
With hundreds of thousands of dead or wounded and no end in sight, war has been raging on for nearly 3 years in Ukraine. But the successes and mistakes of both Ukraine and Russia are a lesson for the French army. This high-intensity conflict foreshadows the war of tomorrow due to the many technological and tactical innovations. It's even pushed the French army to go as far as to create its own special defense innovation unit.
Ce qui est important pour nous, c'est finalement l'innovation et la capacité d'adaptation qu'on a constatée au cours de ce conflit, qui pour nous en fait mobilise vraiment notre énergie en préparation.
One key takeaway this year, the hidden electronic warfare battle that's reshaping the Ukraine war. This has forced French military leaders to consider where there are gaps in their own capabilities.
Si vous êtes plus capable d'utiliser votre téléphone portable parce qu'il n'est plus capable d'aller se relier à une borne, c'est quand même un petit peu compliqué. Voilà, donc dans le champ militaire, que ce soit pour les communications, que ce soit pour les systèmes de guidage à base de GPS, donc ce qui fait partie de notre quotidien, que ce soit pour les systèmes d'échange d'avions entre eux, ou voire même le guidage d'un drone avec son pilote, tout ça exploite le champ électromagnétique. Et donc être en mesure d'agir sur ce champ, c'est être capable d'interdire son utilisation. Et c'est un domaine qui bouge très très vite. Il faut qu'on soit bien présent là-dessus parce que c'est un élément clé.
The war even inspired the creation of a new NATO Ukraine center in Poland, inaugurated this week to help the alliance learn important lessons from the battlefield in Ukraine.
The giant guarding the entrance of the town of Ternivka in eastern Ukraine sets the tone. We're at the heart of Ukraine's major coal mining basin in western Donbass, a crucial resource for the country's energy supply and a potential target for Russian forces. The area's oldest coal mine is still operating full swing, with the help of an increasing number of women as more and more men are being mobilized. Oksana is among those holding the country's energy front line. Oksana fled her hometown of Bakhmut in the Donetsk region under heavy Russian shelling. Her father and eldest son were killed in the bombings. Many women here were displaced by the war, losing their homes and former jobs. Tatiana used to be a nanny. Irina was an accountant. Their job at the mine ensures their livelihood. It's also a way for them to take part in the war effort. Before the war, women were prohibited from working underground in Ukrainian mines under a law going back to Soviet times. They now account for about 5% of the underground workforce in this mine. A welcome presence, says Irina's husband, who's worked here for years.